You do a lot of the brush cutting and work during November, December, January, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
You can't work the rest of the year. So that's why the timing is pretty important for right now. I guess now we'd like to open it up to questions. Right. I don't want to approach that right now, just small time.
Yeah.
To the group why this maybe came in
Right.
500,000 over our engineering estimate.
The engineering.
That'll connect further down somewhere. Were they talking about staffing? And Kevin, remind us how much we have in
We have one that bond that's be paid off in 2023. And then one bond that would be paid off in 2026, and those combined were 500,000 a year. 530,000. So in 23 and 26, we are expiring 2 months.
okay. That service for those.
I think that's the case.
Yes.
Yep.
Public of what type of, this might affect them, roads means.
We could expect Humble Avenue to be closed for possibly up to 2 weeks. I would guess.
One is for the awarding, recommending awarding of the bidding of the bid in the contract. And the second one is to award the engineering inspection. I'm gonna do those two pieces tonight.
Contractor, we've had they've had
Oh, okay.
We've been working.
5 years, right?
On this, okay.
Yeah.
Bit soon.
Oh.
I would say last year during COVID, we had a real extensive discussion about whether or not we should be moving ahead with this. This is gonna be a lot of money. Maybe we should do this in segments. That's how the three pieces really came apart because we really furthered our discussions last year. So this was not a quick decision. This was a very long out decision. I feel comfortable with it at this point because we have gone down all the roads several times on this. Accurate.
That's accurate, yes.
And so I do feel comfortable. I'm not happy with the price tag. And if you wait, it's going to be more expensive. So we were going to do this last year and we paused it because of COVID. So if you would have done it last year, I mean, there's a potential. But it was a responsible thing to do. So waiting again.
Well, and I think just from a sell in the old industrial park in the some other interest. We've got some buildings that I know are sort of on the drawing board for a couple other interests going on. And one time we looked very, very hard. We ended up taking a pass. And how we were going to know what was coming and everything else. We decided in that particular case to not go for downtown plans and, you know, just the regular growth of the city seat. Since it's kind of off peak construction time.
And delineations done. We've had historic, on the burial sites considered. We've had eagles nesting considered. So we have had quite a bit of background work done by the DNR team
And
to address some of the issues here.
a lot of times they have to notice, the
Stating it, if I said the DNR has been very heavily involved in the process.
That you can necessarily hear us. We've been having some issues with this microphone the last couple meetings.
Okay. All right, well, if he gives you a nod.
Looking at item 3. Alternative or base bid or so we're all there. Okay. Well, we covered point 4 as well.
well, and we have some new news on that. Freshen the update. And I want to give you, myself and Ron, will give you a little presentation tonight, let you know where we're at. There's some more things to think about. This will not be an action item. It's going to give you some more things to think about. So I'm going to go up to the podium and discuss West Central Biosolids. Kind enough to come with me about a month ago. To update and upgrade the facility in Ellsworth, West Central Wisconsin. There again for the utility advisory board. Ellsworth. So let's go through this presentation tonight and I'm here. So I'm kind of the 10,000 foot. Here is really, are we gonna, city gonna do their own biosolids? So impacts that we considered, and there might be here that I'll talk about, but issuing debt improvements at the River Falls facility is going to cost us money. Look at our cash flow and reserve levels. You know, what's a good text of utilities overall level of debt and other capital improvements and other or for net present value of the cost of each alternative. So also I want to say mention this. There was a follow-up meeting. Brought it up at that second meeting and because they were I said I can tell what's happening here. Everybody's wondering what and here's what I said that night, and I think this is the impact. Colleagues, these are our friends, these are our neighbors. And stepping away from essential biosolids is not an easy decision. I mean, are you gonna let Hudson into Richmond? I mean, their rates are going up, if you leave, most likely. I mean, and at Ellsworth. On the flip side of that, So those are the impacts we considered.
I know a few elected officials on the New Richmonds, elected officials and the mayor, and have frequent conversations with them from time. At that meeting, I mentioned I think they're, feeling that that was their charge, rather than bringing it in like this with city council. So we staff brought it to our attention and said, what do we did
For 20 more years.
for 20 more years. Decision is going to impact them. Where we
Their consultant and figure out how this is going to impact their rates and whatnot. So, we're working with Trilogy to put this presentation together for us to. Listening more. Line is up. So share the West Central box, solids expenses have also been increasing. Got a couple different slides on this, but again, you can see lines are up. Truck our sludge from River Falls to Ellsworth again.
Sure, we could only haul 6,000 gallon loads instead of 8,000. That was the peak. It's actually dropped off a little bit. It will be going up. And then on top of that, the unknown is the diesel prices because there's surcharge for diesel. Anything over $3 a gallon. So how high diesel goes, it's going to determine how high.
all that works across all the community.
Say Avery or Somerset or somebody like that. That's quite a ways. That's the flat rate everybody pays. I don't know how far you are from Biosolids facility. Reasoning facility, didn't know where it was gonna be, so nobody. Central location, it would have been a fairer system for everyone. But I mean, that system is stuck and you can see if you're one of the community.
Definitely could be a debate there whether or not that's charges. You can see in 2016, we were yeah, I mean, we're delivering more.
Yeah, like Kevin said, trucking's went up, definitely. Almost, that stuff is going crazy. It's gonna be,
So yeah, growth is part of it, transportation. Some Dells, they're similar size to us, and they have a plant. Odorless for the most part. I'm not gonna say neighborhood type smell. Until central biosolids, so paying ourselves, doing our own thing would be less. We'd have a debt service payment starting in 2026. Major assumptions, we spend about, this is updated 7.2 million, that includes costs in there. It also includes a 40. So we've really tried to make that as it has a 40% contingency built into that. $62, it's about a wash for what we're spending in one side. Or 60 savings, or 60 spend is on. Total annual cost about 600. You can see here, so we have to have some filing in 2025 and 2026. That's the blue. This is the one. See where the blue line is on top. Projects that we've already discussed. It includes North Interceptor. It includes the North Looking project built into this thing. But you can also see in 2025 and 2026, we've got a huge spend both around. It's going to bump down. But believe it or not, it bumps up. To try to get that kind of beige line. Where's the blue line there? So by 2030, but also I think in 2030, you can then pretty. Oh, that's still 9 years out. But this doesn't look bad for spending $7 million along the way. The West Central Biosolids, we do plan on spending 2.3, well, actually. Is that about right?
Yep.
Next year, over at West Central Biosolids, we hit a straw poll. Of sooner rather than later. They're going to fund. Who was working here up until about a month. emissions on this. And we actually project in the federal, first one.
Or is it?
It's the one that they all agreed on, but they're not gonna sign until they get the add-on to it. So it's in there. It's whenever they agree on how much more they're gonna spend. Oh, that's gonna lower that down to about 2.3.
Service that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, probably a little bit.
And that debt service payment along in the rates, so the rates will go up a little bit. Now, again, if we were to get out of 2025, we're gonna be gone. The big project really did about 2025 for 21.6 million. And then finishing out at 5.1 million in 2030. Overall, real close to $30 million. Charges each of its members and non-member communities part of the debt service and increased O&M. Assumptions, the cost of the West Central Biosolids upgrades about $29 million, close to 30 million. 300 an increase in O&M costs. Share, West Central is about 18.3%. And after the 2025 improvements, and a year after the phase 3 in 2030. That we were looking at what 400 and something. 650 will do it on him. Cheaper. Let's just go to the next one.
Kim,
Oh, yeah, so they have a 25% contingency on this number. So again, we're trying to make this look the kind of the best it can. Trying to disparage this one. Safe, I guess.
So that, yeah, that contingency.
There's the catch meets again, and then this is that other chart. So this is if you go with them. I mean, this is a scary chart to me. You have in your packet. I told you to look at 3 slides ago compared. I mean, 2026, you're going to have to be thinking about a rate. Simplify this thing too much, but those two slides, this one, the one about 3 ago, were big in comparison. So we don't take this lightly, but yeah, I mean, that'd be the Reader's Digest version. Alternative 1 findings, we get no alternative 1. I'll summarize this. It's more debt up front, but it's still cheaper. Alternative 2 is a higher net present value, 3.2 million higher than alternative 1. So after 20 years go by, under the scenarios, they're going to spend over 3 million. There's the conclusion. Alternative 2 is less cost effective than alternative 1 and result in a need to increase sewer rates sooner. Alternative 2 could have a higher O&M cost for River Falls than shown in the report if their biosolids O&M expenses rise faster than 2% a year. I'm gonna give a caveat on this because, boy, that looked good. Last meeting one a week and a half ago. So we're out. So now West Central Biosolids is looking for a new engineer, so that could change the numbers. Though it could change minor. I think it's gonna be really, our numbers are the same. Or maybe worse.
So Town and Country fired them for what reason?
They didn't really want to wait until 2025.
Project, he basically said, they're down in Madison, it's a smaller firm, they didn't feel they had the time or the resources. Have to do a project like this as far away as they were. They did get started on it, I mean, it went. I think, and West Central was one of the only clients, they had a couple other clients that have dropped to. All through.
As well as our consultant pool that we can draw on. Other than the 25% that we would be sidelines, only having the ability to raise it. So that's a concern.
It's the old thing, costs are up by 20%, and then why did that happen, I guess, so, I mean, it is.
It's a cautious estimate.
And if you get sensitive to sewer rates because well, they gave us permission to do it, but there is a little bit of a sense of residents have, I think. That just means that we have to be that much more judicious about those increases in rates. And we will need to do an increase, but to your point, 25 years. And I'll give the citizens a little too much of a stair step. Yeah, then a little bit more. That not being the PSC regulated does give me some pause to make sure that
Back to one of the original comments, like, why are we doing this and not the other communities? Due diligence. So we can say what we did now. making the decision. would you?
No, I mean, this is basically the doing it yourself.
Some hurdles with that, but we did discuss that. We discussed.
One of the weak points of biosolids is, what do you do? Process solids for any length of time, these communities don't have capacity. Or fall back to have some type of mutual aid agreement.
Wanted to make sure that discussion was happening because fact that we could end up that change the dynamic, you know, on say, or you know, what goes on there. A reason for making a decision. I think we all hope that that doesn't happen, but the reality, there'll be some impact.
Give a description of the size of that pile for a week.
You talking on our own?
Yeah, we did our
I don't
assessment.
know, you're probably looking at. We're hauling out 7 loads at 1,000 gallons we're hauling out. It's a 3.5% solids, well, we're talking.
And a product you can spread in your yard, your garden, landscape companies.
So
All the sunlight going up and down the road. And then you have an end product that you can put on.
With our green energy bomb.
Sure, good. But right, I mean, 20 years ago, it was kind of like, we don't. Companies, people come down and get it, I don't know.
That's what we got to, we made it. People came and got it, we didn't have. Landscapers mix it with black dirt, so. I mean, it is, if you get a good product, people.
One more positive count is kind of along the same lines with the footprint thing. It's less a lot less semi-traffic on their streets too every week.
So
It's a liquid.
it's a liquid.
Yeah.
Certainly could be.
Because I mean, I know.
A lot of other
So that everybody actually did have the full.
semis going down the street. I think when we get to the final decision time, I think we do.
Twenty 2025 and take it to your boards, sign off on it if you want to. That's what it got to be, basically. It got to be a business. Kevin, we looked at it, we said, well, we have to explore.
Out to 30 or 40.
There's a lot of different facets to that. Probably isn't going to change too much. Technology will get better, but then the rate so much. 35 years I've been doing this, and it's I don't see. I mean, there is some state. And again, but that end of it, going farther, 60, 80 years, with the whole PFAS issue, I don't know where that's going to end up. Just you hope you don't have it in your sludge. Right now, the way Class A sludge regs are, it would. Under control.
We just got our new 5-year permit, so.
I think I see what you're saying. The way the so it's a contract only we have to change. That's not impossible. I think what you're proposing though, with the scope of it, in the city probably would be like alternate 3, call that. That would be the most expensive. By the time you got done doing it, because you can scale that project somewhat, but I don't know scale it to 50%. the smallest size dryer right now, we're looking at to do all.
Feelings, we're just looking out for our own interests. I think the only factor now is what.
'21 budget numbers, you'll give actual expenses or put all that down on paper, redo the O&M.
That's central Wisconsin. And then I suppose you could do. And then the 40% is built there. So we. Us, right, to be able to manage it. Absolutely. I understand.
I just, I want to make.
I also want to make sure we don't get talked out of something because we overdid something. Let's take a look at graduating that in there a little.
The next round, you'll see that
Okay, thank you.
on that. Thanks. Give the reports day to day. I think. Do accounts receivable balances continue. We're getting people paid up. As of 9/30, as of September 30th, all utilities had a 90+ days of cash on hand. Our goal is 90 days. All three, water, sewer, and electric, all have 90 days plus. So that's really positive. Aggregate electric revenue shows a significant increase for 2020 pandemic, especially from the 2019 under in the former tariff. So once we got the rate increase in there, getting the new the loads for electric.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Universities back to.
Yeah, they're close to pre-pandemic numbers. Not quite, but close. They're getting there.
And other large business.
Yes, so let me, so electric industrial is a little better than pre-pandemic, and public authority is a little bit better than pre-pandemic, so. This is a lot, residential is way better than pre-pandemic. Industrial and public authority, which is university, school district, city buildings, we're ahead of 2019 numbers. Channel rehab right now, if you live in that, if you lives there, also lives in an area, they're doing some drainage basin work, which is a pretty big expense, and that's putting a little bit of ding in our stormwater fund this year. Out of our fund balances, so we have that money. So year to date, electric, Revenues 11.4 million, expenses 11.3 million for electric, so we're positive there. Cash investments were 3.6 million. This year on the hydro relicensing, $222,000. So if you take that out of there, we're really sitting good for electric, but it's $250,000, and that should start tapering until we get into the removal, and then you're gonna have more expenses. Pumping money, so we're hopefully gonna get $1 million grant from the DNR out of the last couple million that need to be spent. Still have no big checks or no small checks. Water fund, year-to-date revenues, 1.8 million, expenses 1.4 million. We have a 400,000 there. Sewer fund, rev 7 million, expenses 2.1 million, 600,000 to the positive side for sewer. So water and sewer are doing great. Irrigation, year over year, we increased 20 a year. So we sold 25 million gallons more of irrigation water. Yeah, they just real briefly, the accounts receivable. So on the 31st of January of this year, we had 203,000 outstanding overdue bills. Now we're down to 73,000. So I tell you what, that's all hard work with our customer service staff, making a lot of calls, sending a lot of letters, a lot of follow-ups, and they've whittled that down from 203 to 73,000. So hats off to them and their hard work. Positive cash flow this year, and well,
Kevin,
we're going to be going out to timeline, but I was thinking maybe February for bidding. Is that what we're doing now? We were thinking January. As soon as that's done, we'll be moving into the North Looping project for the water and sewer well as well. Yeah, you'll be seeing that in early 22 bids and right.
they're putting you in Crystal.
But that is on.
Later shortly, but that was the last number we had.
And we're gonna use fund balance or debt.
I think we'll borrow for that on the water side for that, not the sewer side.
Okay.
And we didn't even talk about Man Valley, which might also let you know they're working on that as well. You want to just give a brief update on where Man Valley is? We kind of had back burnered that in 2020. We pulled that off the back burner, put it on the front burner, and put it on high.
Right.
And a lot of that will be financed through TID, correct? Not up front, but over time.
I'd have to pull up this.
Costs on that. For water. We haven't tried to do it. But all these things coming up.
Right.
By projects in our project meetings, but yeah, it'd be really good for you guys to see that. We can do that. Oh, but that's the stuff you need to be thinking about. So, and we're sensitive to rates, right? We want to make sure rates stay stable, but yeah, deliver the services and take care of the infrastructure. Once again,
Well, Brendan related to that.
$17,000 people now in River Falls. They didn't know that presentation was given at the last council meeting, and there were some questions whether or not all the university kids who lived off campus may have been counted or not. Population now, I can't remember the exact.
Undercount was only 400.
Yeah.
Not science, because you really can't quantify things.
So I don't think it was a major disappointment, but it didn't knock anybody's socks off either. I think if you would have got over 25, there would have been some eyebrows raised. That nice 15,000 number when you're driving to town. Right? That's all I have for the financial report. Okay. I just want to mention one thing. You're going to see a press release come out. I was given this from WPPI. And River Falls is number 3 in the country with green power block participation. This is as of the end of last year, we were 12% participation. We're at about 14% participation now. So Portland General Electric is at 26%. They're number 1. Electric Cooperative is at 20%. They're 2. And River Falls Municipal Utilities is number 3 in the country, followed by Alameda Municipal Power. So anyway, that's unbelievable. There's over 2,000 public power utilities in the country, and River Falls has put their money where their mouth is. This is voluntary participation of green energy blocks, number 3 in the country. It's pretty good. So and related to that, I was just over, some of you may have seen, I was at by Two Rivers by the nuclear power plant over there. Well, they use some of that nuclear power plant site for solar, and WPPI Energy is a big purchaser of that solar project over there. And that'll put WPPI's green energy portfolio at about 20% of the total portfolio. I think you heard that story a couple of years ago, or maybe it's 3 years ago. So they bought that into that solar. It was actually the cheapest resource that came in, cheaper than the gas, cheaper than the coal, because of the credits they got from the solar. It was the cheapest energy, and they bought it. So they got 100 megawatts of solar. Excuse me, 100,000 megawatts of solar. Let's, I think, on that. The dashboards or the monthly utility report, and it kind of blended right into the financial report. These are going. It's finishing up a lot of the boring of our boring contract. That seems to be going well on Wayne.
I think that's the best time of the year. But it looks like we got a little bit of a downward trend in the fall. People are always asking electronic recycling and when we're going.
We haven't done that one.
Have we targeted a date for an electronics recycling again?
Yeah, we did this
We
year.
did it this year, yeah.
The COVID thing, these years blend together, and I can't remember what
Yeah.
was the next, bro.
But we're planning,
Electronic recycling event.
Yeah.
And then we do biannual cleanup.
Yeah.
Haven't done the paint one. Last four cleanups, really the anomaly was spring cleanup of 21, when people came out of COVID, collected a bunch, that's when we got over 1,300 vehicles.
yeah,
If you look at the other three, this latest one had 1,060. Going back to last spring, 1121 and 1085, so
yeah.
within 100 really. That's pretty amazing too, that you have all those events are within 100 vehicles. And
Yeah.
all of that.
And I don't think we had a problem with the cleanup.
Yeah, it's around
And
the,
it's like,
yeah, that went pretty good.
Come down quick. Strongly consider changing that route.
That works. I know, I was trying to remember why that we did it for that one electronic recycling and it worked well because it was on a Saturday. So all that traffic that goes along, back up along Benson Street, there was a concern if that was during the weekdays, with a lot of traffic in some of those businesses. So that's why cycling, spreading fall events.
Yeah.
Coming that way, but the electronic one,
Yeah.
you have this one day,
Yes.
the line is super long.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
I think, yeah, I. Summit, that doesn't appear to be a problem. I drove in. It's an exciting time. I don't get why people understand.
Anyway, it's a nice service we offer. A lot of stuff out of people's yards and garages.
Virgil and Brian, as they
So they walked me through what they were doing. So I don't know, I was totally spilling beans on Virgil, but he's been working with our time and he's books about it, nationally publicized books, so you've got some people in those positions who are passionate about what they do, and we're, and electric, we're creeping up on almost 70% converted to the AMI. To beef up the water conversions now to end. Thank you, everybody, for your attention and patience.